And so people need, this is why I don't recommend people channel, right? I've got so many horror stories I've heard down the years where people thought they were channeling, their dead dad and, Archangel Michael, and they followed the advice and it started off okay. And then they kept on following the advice, and then they lose everything. They lose their family, their job, their finances all go, you know,
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of the Spiritual Inspired Show. I am your host, Claudiu Murgan. For older episodes, please visit spiritualinspired.ca or averse.network and our YouTube channel. My guest today is Tony Sayers. Tony, thank you for accepting my invitation.
Thanks for having me on, Claudio. It's a pleasure to be here, and hopefully your listeners will get some value from what we're going to talk about. So yeah, thank you.
For sure. And I consider myself very courageous to invite you and have this discussion with you after watching you debunking some of my previous guests.
Oh, really? Oh dear.
So I
Yeah.
really I'm coming in this interview, I'm stepping in with an open mind and open heart, just trying to learn more, about your point of view and how those guests are not possibly right, or I want to understand your point of view and their point of view as well.
Sure. And with all the reviews that I do on my channel, I don't do them out of any kind of malice, or it's nothing personal, unless they're like outright working for the cult, which some of them are. Some of them are unknowingly misleading people. So it's nothing personal with any of them. It's just, the information, in my opinion, a lot of the times is very misleading, and it's leading people into what I call cul-de-sacs or down dead ends where no one's really progressing, and actually it's ended up a lot worse for many people. So that's my intention with all the reviews and the debunks that I do. So I just want to make that point before, I guess we get into some of the people you want me to speak about.
I understand, and I'm telling you, my wife is my scout, and she watched many of your videos, and she said you have to interview Tony because you interviewed so many guests of he put his focused on, so you have to talk to him. So I want to start with a warm-up question. Why Mexico? Did you feel the energy of the place differently than where you lived before?
Well, yeah, that's an understatement. I can't deal with the energy in the UK. I just feel very stunted there. I mean, it's just the weather as well. I mean, just and even when you get a sunny day there, they just spray it. It's so badly sprayed. Like, it's just I'm someone that I need to feel, well, not just me, I think everyone, I need to feel the environment around me. Um, it needs to be more suited to me, and then I can flourish. I become more creative. I feel more happy. And a prime example was talking about the energy and creativity. When I wrote my first book, I wrote the majority of it in Asia. I was living in Cambodia and Thailand, and I had one more chapter to write. And at the time, I was going back to the UK, and I just thought, well, I'll finish the last chapter in the UK. Couldn't do it. Couldn't get anything. Couldn't get any kind of inspiration. I remember sitting at my desk, and there was just nothing coming. And then as soon as I went back, it was, I was free flowing again. It was really weird. But the UK actually, I believe it to be a very important energy point on the earth. That's why the financial district is in London, and I think organically the energy there is, if it was not so hijacked, is probably very powerful in a good way. But for me, it's kind of unbearable, and so the interesting thing with Latin America and Mexico. As a young child, I used to stare at the map, and I used to stare at countries like Peru and Argentina and Brazil and Colombia and Mexico, and I always had this kind of deep down, I don't know, resonance with the whole of this area. And then I was rubbish at school. I was rubbish at languages. I took French, and I think I got like a grade E. I didn't have a very good teacher, to be fair, but I was so bored by learning French. And you're not French, are you? Are you
No,
French?
Romanian.
Okay. Well, there's not the language has nothing to do with the people anyway. But yeah, but then when I left at 16, I had this really weird desire to learn Spanish, and I'm like, what? It didn't make sense. Why do I want to learn Spanish so much? And of course, I think there was something in me, some kind of calling, or on a soul level that I either knew deep down I was going to end up here. And Mexico itself, again, is it's very, on the Earth's grid. There's many pyramids and stuff here. Many cultures that knew the land. And I've spent the last couple of months visiting a lot of those sites, doing land clearings and energy work, grid work myself. So, and I love, yeah, I love the food. I love the music. The only thing I don't like, and we kind of touched on it, before, is just it's such a noisy culture. It really is. Like I love Mexican people, but they've got no decorum when it comes to your personal space. They'll quite happily like come and sit next to you on the beach and put a speaker on and start playing like and even the other night, just here where I'm staying, it was like a Tuesday night or something, and they all got the table outside. And when I say they got a loudspeaker to play, it was ridiculous. It's like there's no thought about neighbours, but they're all the same. So if you like a place that's quiet, then Latin America is probably not the place. But yeah, I just think I always deep down, was meant to be here, I think. And whether or not I'll stay here forever, I don't know. Maybe life will take another path, but certainly it's the area of the world that I feel most comfortable in and suits me best.
Yes, at one point we thought about going to Mexico before deciding to move to Panama. So yes, I don't know if we are going to entertain that idea again, but who knows? And going back to your place of origin, UK, I recently interviewed Rebecca Barron, and we talked at length about the her interaction with the royal family when she was young. And she was telling me that the royal family is not there anymore. They are all gone and they are just, there's something else who replaced them. And England might be the first one to fall in the whole scheme. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think what they want to do is they want to get rid of the royal family totally because there's gonna well probably that there's gonna be a one world government with and the whole idea of monarchy and different varieties of sovereignties, kings and queens. I think that's the idea is for them to scrap all that in the long term, and so there does seem to be some kind of dismantling of the royal family at the moment, and there's an agenda behind everything, isn't there? Um, so yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I think that's the long term goal of what they want to achieve. Everyone, one world religion, one world government, one world army, and obviously they can't do that with royal families. And also there's something to do with the law and the legality of the king has to sign certain things off and so I think with that scrapped, then they're able to just impose more rules and regulations more easily. So,
Interesting. Going back to what you often talk about, the matrix and the trap we are all part of. We all heard about Ajita Morjani, and she was, a case which the doctor thought is not something that she'll recover from. So she went on the other side, she saw the light, and then she came back healed. What's your explanation about that? Was the virus removed from the system and she was the system at the time, or what do you think it happened there?
Well, I must be the only person that hasn't heard of that person. But what I will say is, what they often do is they give people well, certainly with the NDEs, the people that have NDEs, they are shown these realms, which I believe are false, these heavenly realms. And of course, Granny meets you, or your guide, or your angel, anything that you were, into in your physical life, and you get love bombed with the white light frequency, the false light frequency, which makes you feel, from what I've researched, just this overwhelming sense of love and joy. But my argument is it's a fake light. It's a fake white light. Um, and so what they're doing is they're giving these people that have these NDEs these amazing experiences. So then when they come back down, they become agents of the matrix. And then they're like, well, don't worry about it. When you die, you just go to the light. Archangel Michael's going to be there, or your guides are going to be there, or your great auntie Edna's going to be there, and everything's going to be lovely. It's wonderful. It's all love. Everything's love, right? You hear it all the time with these near-death experiences. Um, and then, as we know, that then they're back down in a human body when most of the time they don't even want to come back. If you look at these NDEs, they'll often plead with the entity or God or Jesus or whatever entity is shown up as, and they'll often plead that they don't want to go back, they don't want to go back, and then they always, oh well, you've got to come back, and oh, you've got a mission. Or one NDE that I reviewed, she said that she was talking to God, and God was telling her how much he loved her, and he kept repeating how much she had free will. He was like, "Oh, you've." She's like, "I don't want to go back." Yeah, well, but you've got free will. She's like, "Yeah, but I don't want to go back." And then she said that she was stuffed. This was her word, stuffed back into her body, right? So this God who loves her so much and kept telling her that she had free will, stuffed her back into her body. Um, and so what happens is they have to give people some form of sugar, right? To because otherwise, if they showed up at what they really were, probably reptilians and greys and all this stuff, right? And took people to the real place where they have NDEs, which is this what I refer to this Earth-like realm, which is referenced in the best film it was referencing is the film Defending Your Life, where when you die, the real place you go to a processing center and you queue up like you do here to get your passport, and they take your name, and then you wait, go in the holding area, then you end up in this like Earth-like realm, which is even more locked down than this realm. That's where people really go, and that's also referred in the film Beetlejuice as well. So they tell us in films, but if they were to send people and give people the real experiences, and then people came back and told everyone about what really goes on, then people would be like, I'm not going there, I'm not clued up. But as for the lady you mentioned with this kind of healing, that's something that you hear a lot. And when you look at someone like John of God, right, he was healing people of cancers, right? But he was also a child trafficker, right? So, and he was Oprah Winfrey's best mate, and we all know about Oprah Winfrey. So there's always they don't always come out the gates full on evil, right? They will sometimes, yeah. Some people will feel healed. They'll have great experiences because they have to. Because these people are agents. Then they come back down and they tell everyone how wonderful it all is, and then people watch all of this stuff, and then when they do die, they don't ask questions. They don't that discernment is disengaged, and they just go, oh well, I remember, when I was alive watching this video of this woman, and she said everything's going to be all right. They'll heal me, and all this stuff. But there's a much grander deception going on. But yeah, they have to give a bit of sugar, a bit of honey. because if they just showed people what it's really like, and what's really going on with the life reviews, and then the mind wiping before you come back down to have another a lifetime here. If they showed people all of that, it would be a very different story that these people were telling when they come back, and therefore people would be more clued up when they went there, and would engage their discernment and make different decisions. So it's not so much a soul trap as a soul trick. I prefer referring as a soul trick. We've been tricked here round and round, and these entities are master manipulators. They're masters at masquerading, and they'll tell you whatever you want to hear because they know us better than them. I mean, they review our lives. So our lives are recorded. I always say, like, you're on the toilet, you're being recorded. And this is the funny thing with these NDE people. They never, if I was there, I'd be like, hang on a minute, are you telling me you recorded my whole entire life? Like, but these people, they just willingly go there, and they never, that's a big invasion. Talking of invasion of privacy here in this realm, I mean, what's going on in the astral? And so yeah, basically that's kind of the reason I would suggest why she came back and was healed. I mean, it's still like anecdotal evidence, isn't it? We don't know if that's the case. She's saying that she's healed, but certainly it's something I've heard quite often, and like I say, John of God is the prime example of that. He had thousands of people showing up, and he was healing people, but there was a very, very dark side to what he was also doing. So there seems to be a way where you work with that energy. It can call, it can invoke some kind of healing, but there seems to be a very nefarious side to it as well.
And do you think that this soul trick, as you call it, got more prominent and tightened around us as the society evolved compared to, let's say, the shamans 1,000 or 2,000 years ago, when they were just, playing with the drum, invoking the ancestors? Do you think they're part of the same trick without knowing?